Explore Tulsa is an opportunity to see behind the scenes of Tulsa's most unique places.
To hear the stories of real people who are doing fantastic things and who love living here.
We look at the people, places, and events that make Tulsa home. Welcome to a few minutes of Exploring Tulsa. Hi, welcome to Explore Tulsa, the show about everything Tulsa.
We're glad you're here. Thanks for joining us again this week. I'm Austin Morton.
And I'm Trish Whitmer, and we're ready to introduce our first story to you.
Trish, you know that we focus on Tulsa and everything about Tulsa, but sometimes we find a Tulsan whose reach is far beyond the borders of just this city.
We found such a guy when we sat down to talk with Philip Hathaway and found a man whose passion of caring for animals is so large that it's putting him in a heated battle to save the lives of elephants on another continent from right here in Tulsa.
The more we compassionately care for animals, the more clearly we see their creator. You know, I remember one time I was out on a picnic with my mother and my father and my sister, and we were having a beautiful time, beautiful spring day. And there were some robins singing in a tree. And a couple of kids came up with BB guns and killed them. And that still troubles me. I think that was part of the beginning of it. About 15 years ago, I met a little dog. I found a little beautiful dog, black, fluffy dog, didn't even look real, he was so beautiful. And he was sitting by the side of a very busy gas station. Thousands, literally thousands of cars were whizzing by. And I took him home, and I think he taught me more about life and love and forgiveness and joy and peace and happiness than all the priests and prophets in the world combined could ever do. And then, to take a giant step in time forward, I discovered that 30 to 50,000 elephants 30 to 50,000 elephants are being killed every year for their tusk in sub-Saharan Africa. And this is so important because since 1980, we've lost 850,000 elephants to poaching and hunting. We had 1.2 million elephants in 1980 in sub-Saharan Africa. Those are African elephants. Now we only have 350,000. That's why every elephant is important and precious, and hunting or culling is never an option. And so I knew I had to do something. And I volunteered at a lot of different places that were supposed to be helping elephants, and none of them were taking volunteers. So I said, okay, look, I'm either gonna sit here and do nothing about this, or I'm gonna start my own thing, which is what I did. And now we're a 501c3 public charity, and we've been in existence about 3.5 years. Right now we're fighting really hard to save 100, maybe more elephants who are going to be shot dead unless we move them. It's in sub-Saharan Africa in a nature reserve where there are 100 elephants, maybe a little bit more than 100 elephants. And there are many other species of animals in that nature reserve too. Well, the elephants are eating all the food. They eat about 660 pounds a day. So when you have 100 elephants, that's several tons every day that they eat. So all the other animals in that nature reserve are going hungry, to the point of some of them are starving to death. So instead of implementing a reforestation plan or a birth control plan, which is very doable, they have applied to the government to kill all these elephants. I'm trying to intervene to move them to a new location. But when you nurture the elephants, when you just essentially leave them alone, then you have years and years, decades of tourism that comes in and the economy flourishes. Hunting destroys all that forever. You know, moving elephants is very involved. You have to dart them to tranquilize them, and then they fall over asleep. You can't do it near water. They may run in water and fall over and drown. So you have to be very thoughtful about how you do it. And you want to do it in families because they're incredibly close to their families. The logistic equation is quite complex, and I'm not going to be making all those decisions. I got people on the ground who know what they're doing, who've done this before, and who'll be doing all that. ElephantRescue.net will exist way after my lifetime, and we want to really make an impact on sub-Saharan Africa. There's a real possibility we could lose the elephants forever, permanently. If we get down to 250,000, 200,000 elephants, we could lose the elephant permanently. It could be irreversible. So hunting or poaching is never an option.
Wow, Philip is certainly passionate about making a difference.
He is, Austin, and that all needs to happen right now. To learn more, go to elephantrescue.net and look for ways you can get involved.
Thanks to people like Philip and the organization behind him, we can all have a hand in these kinds of rescue operations. It's time for us to take a break for a moment, and then we're back with Ashley and Ashley.
Now that's not a cool new band. It's a store in Harvard we thought you would enjoy.
Here's a word for you, stress. If you're like most people, stress has simply become a way of life.
That means things like fatigue, weakness, muscle and bone loss, moodiness or depression, and dozens of other symptoms.
If you're stressed over an argument, your body can still react as if you're facing a life or death situation.
The food that you eat has a direct effect on your body's ability to handle stress.
So get rid of the processed food and sugary snacks and embrace fruits and vegetables, high quality protein and healthy fats.
Secondly, engage with your supportive friends and family. Social engagement is the body's most evolved strategy for responding to stress.
And finally, take time to exercise, which is as simple as going for a brisk walk. Come to FMI for an adrenal stress evaluation.
Thanks for coming back to Explore Tulsa. Now this next story is about two college friends who reconnected some years after college when the opportunity came up to buy a vintage retail store and work together.
And the tale of two Ashleys was born and continues to this day. Join us for a visit to the Retro Den.
We were at 15th and Delaware, and that building had 120 leaks in the ceiling. And we put buckets out. We had X's on the floor where all the buckets would belong if it was going to rain, and we would tarp the furniture. So if it was a rainy day and people came in, we'd be like, don't trip on those buckets. Also, would you like to see the sofa? We sold a sofa under a tarp once. I don't want to brag, but. So now we're at a really dry place, and that's really helpful when you're selling furniture or anything.
So I thought long and hard of what would I want to do if I could do anything in the world? Like, what would it be? And I thought, I would like to own a vintage furniture store.
So basically, Ashley and I started the store, and we really like vintage items, and we like the meaning behind them. We started, we arrange our store in certain ways to make it feel beautiful and explain why it would look nice in a home, like visually explain it. And then people started asking us if we would do that in their house for them.
Because we're overachievers and we wanted more, wanted to do more, we have expanded to doing the home styling with people, so going to people's houses and collaborating with them to make their homes beautiful and functional for themselves.
And we shop their homes, and we like make it better than we found it. We like leave them with a better space. Everything that we get in, we like to put it on the floor ready to go into your home. So we don't typically buy things that need a lot of work because we found out we don't have a lot of time to repair things, but everything gets wiped down, screws get tightened. There's times that we'll reupholster it. But yeah, we like to make sure it's all good.
So I'd say 90% of what we have is vintage pieces, found pieces. We also carry a little bit of new furniture as well. And then the plants are a big thing, strangely. Air plants and succulents.
There's a lady in Independence, Kansas that we met at the Tulsa Flea Market who grows succulents. She's been growing for 30 years.
Now we carry her succulents, and that's a big draw for people when they come in, is the plants. Who would have thought that? A vintage store with plants?
We recently built, we're calling it the studios at Retro Den. They are basically office spaces, studio spaces for some of our friends' businesses. We have Mary Make and Do, who does sewing classes.
She has her students coming in every day taking sewing classes, and so it's so nice to get to know the kids that are coming in and just to have someone back there working away, learning something.
And then the lady next to her is Owl and Drum, Bianca Howell, and she sells fabrics. And then Laurel Marie does calligraphy and stationery, so they mostly work with brides, but they also do beautiful prints. They have this great Tulsa bag that has all of these Tulsa signs on it. And then Tasha Ball with House Sparrow Fine Nesting. She does macrame and natural dyeing. She also teaches free knitting lessons on Saturday mornings.
She does weaving classes and macrame classes.
On Saturdays, lots of adorable people circle around her and learn to knit, and we all are proponents of crafting.
So everyone just kind of doing what they want to do and enjoying it and enjoying each other. I feel like we have a really big and special relationship with a lot of local makers.
I think we are just finding ways to be fresh and be engaged in our work and try to really interact with our community, and I think that's where our focus is right now.
I feel like a lot of them feel like we helped give them confidence to do what they wanted to do because we liked their things, and so it feels really good to help someone who's starting out just by liking what they're doing and telling them you should do this, like why not? We'd like to have your stuff in our shop, and so I feel like that's one of our biggest community pieces of involvement, I guess, is working with those local creatives, and they give back to us as well, and we've learned a lot.
We're about to celebrate 5 years in a couple weeks, and we're really proud of that. And I think owning the shop that long gives you so much perspective on how hard it is to run a creative life or a small business, and how important it is to shop locally and get to know the people that are choosing to do that with their time, and how easy it is for a small business to not be there anymore. People that are from your town and are doing something special and passionate with their lives they're better neighbors, and we want to help support those people and hopefully get some of that karma back for ourselves.
Ashley Daly and Ashley Palmer and family. It's all just one big family. What a cool space.
We had to cut out a lot of giggling when we interviewed those two. They have fun working together, and they're talented as well. Stop by and tell them we sent you. We promise a great experience.
After we take a short break, we're headed to a very unique museum, one that just may surprise you.
When Explore Tulsa returns in a moment.
When I listen to music, I close my eyes and it takes me away. Anytime we bring a new speaker into the studio, we tune the speaker for the room. Every room sounds different, and every environment that the speaker goes into affects the sound of the speakers. Now you can do the same thing at home that we do in the studio. I can think of no better feeling than to close your eyes and disappear into the music.
Come hear for yourself at Video Revolution.
Thanks for coming back to Explore Tulsa.
Austin, I don't even know how to describe this one. It's vintage, sure, and it's a museum, yes.
And completely full of really historically significant artifacts, many of which are priceless, and some are even one of a kind.
And yet, this museum encourages you to touch every piece, and even requires you to do so when signing in to visit, and is run by a guy who had no idea how to work any of the pieces only a few months ago.
Intrigued yet? You should be.
Anyone who sits down at one of these machines and starts sewing, if you have the right thing in front of you, there's no way you can't get into it. I'm a welder and fabricator. Sewing is like I'm just welding with thread. I wanted to teach myself how to upholster my boat and go fishing. Went and bought a $99 Singer, said heavy duty on it at Joann's, and got some upholstery fabric, and broke the machine immediately. I'm a fabricator and I work on my own equipment, cranes, and just anything. I can work on anything. And I saw what was wrong with it and I thought, well, I'll just go get a part. So when I went to get the part, they kind of giggled at me. And then a lady outside the counter giggled, you know, and so I looked at her and I said, what am I missing? What's up? And she said, well, these are kind of throwaway machines. And she handed me an old card and told me to call this guy and he could hook me up. And so I called him, and when I went over and got there, there was 3 machines on the floor. And he said, you can have this one. And it was a black Singer. You can have this one if you can find homes for the other 2. And I know a lot of people. I've been in Tulsa for 30 years. And so I found 2 homes for people that would want to use them. The boats, I finished it. There's chairs downstairs. That was the very first project of it. But I did eventually do the interior of the boat while I was actually falling in love with the sewing culture. It took a little bit. I'd become some sort of drop-off point for sentimental machines. I mean, I would come home and there'd be machines at my door without a note or anything, you know. And sometimes I'd have a note, can you please find a home for this or whatever. I ran out of people to give to. So a friend pointed out, well, why don't you get on Facebook? So I joined a group of sewing enthusiasts. I didn't even know that something like that existed. Then it kind of snowballed. And I fell in love with it, you know. It's like once you love something, you start noticing it's everywhere. Someone mentions, well, you ought to open a museum. I posed the question, well, where's the nearest sewing museum? And all I got was cricket noises. So I started doing a bunch of research about other museums, sewing museums. Now in Europe, they have some really big, nice ones. That's old money, but it's still a no touch, you know. So the problem with that kind of museum is you go one time, you've seen it and that's it. In this place here, if you want to make a saddle, you can make one. Or if you want to make lace, you can make your own lace here. Or you can make a wedding dress. Or you can do shoes. Or you can make boots or hats. I asked the professionals that come visit, I said, what can't you do here? That's my way of trying to figure out what have I missed. And not a single person has come up with something. And everything's hands-on in here. Like these machines in the background, including the spinning wheels, these work. If you want to use one of these machines, we'll bring it down and then teach you how to service it yourself. And because we have all that too. And you can use whatever machine you want in here. There's probably 4 or 5 that we don't use or won't allow to be used because of the significance of them. But there's probably between 700 and 800 here. I probably have another 700 or 800 machines. Some of them are significant, some of them are historical. Some of them are extremely rare. I don't know anyone that's actually even come in here and not thought, wow, this is actually kind of cool.
What a find right here in Tulsa, Trish.
And we found it completely surprising how universal the appeal is. WK's teenage son will bring the guys around and they'll also patches for their hats or make a new hat right from scratch, and all using the sewing machines right there in the museum.
And there are literally hundreds of new machines that WK has received and is rebuilding, so the displays will be changing often.
That's amazing. Definitely on my to-do list to go spend more time exploring. We'll be right back after a short break with more Explore Tulsa.
Hi, Dr. Robert Zellner here. For over 20 years, I've offered affordable, convenient eye care in Tulsa. Right now, you can get 1 pair of glasses or contact lenses starting at just $99, or my 2-pair deal for $129. Hey, and as always, the eye exam's included. Walk-ins are always welcome. Glasses are ready in about an hour. Plus, we have over 2,000 frames to choose from. We're open 7 days a week. Come see why we're voted Tulsa's best. And our drive-thru at 69th and Memorial makes pickup simple and easy. For the best eye care value in Tulsa, Dr. Robert Zellner and Associates.
could give you the cure for an awkward date, Austin, or that stony silence around the water cooler, or being left out of dinner conversations at the table,
I'd say you'd be a hero.
well, if I am, then so is Amy and her witty, insightful site, Last Night's Game.
We used to have Make-A-Wish kids. I think that was one of my favorite things is you had these kids who would come in who were sick, and they would get to go in and be in the locker room. And I remember one specifically, Matthew, who has since passed away, but he went in and he wanted to meet Randy Johnson, and Randy took him in and took him in the locker room. They ate ice cream, they sat in his recliner, they did all these different things that one might do that a little kid would be just fascinated by. It was really cool. It was a really neat experience just to see that side of people. My love of sports started because I have a little brother who played every sport you could imagine. He played anything from roller hockey to volleyball to football. And so I really learned to love sports because I was forced to sit through all these games and learn all these different sports. And that really came in handy for me because I picked up a career in professional sports. So I worked for the Arizona Diamondbacks, which are based in Phoenix. And that's really where that love of sports came full circle because I was a terrible athlete. I played one season of soccer. I think I cried. I was short, so I got kicked in the face. It really just wasn't my thing, so I just stuck to dancing because that was much more my speed. So Last Night's Game, it's myself and my brother. So that sports guy that we kind of talked about in the beginning, he is my sports guy now. He's my official sports nerd. So he's the guy who listens and watches sports like you and I might listen to the radio. So when he's at work in his regular job, he listens to sports all the time, and then he helps compile that information that we send out 3 times a week. So he really knows the ins and outs about what's happening in the sports world. And so I kind of monitor the non-sports stuff where the crossover might be within the People magazines, the celebrity type side of it. So I keep an eye on that, and he really gives me the sports stuff. And so we kind of watch where sports cross over because ideally what we cover is where sports and pop culture and sort of real life combine, because that's what people remember. That's what people can talk about. People don't really talk about Tom Brady having, 200 yards in a game. That's not really conversational. I wouldn't sit down and talk to you about my lunch that has 400 calories. I would talk to you about my great meal I had and you should try this place. And so that's kind of how we cover sports, in the fact that we want people to be able to make a conversation out of it, not just shoot stats and talk about the 1975 team together. One of our readers, she worked in an office with a bunch of guys, and they'd always do that over the cubicle talk about the sports, whatever happened last night. Did you see the Thunder game? And she said she would just sit there and she'd kind of just listen to them talk over her about sports. And a friend told her about last night's game, and she thought, okay, well maybe I should sign up for that. And she slowly started to get that confidence and understand what was happening. And so there was one day where she said she chimed in about this big game that happened the night before and this overtime win, and they all looked at her like she had 8 heads and said, I had no idea you didn't know anything about sports. And she kind of just went, yeah, I do. I just listen to you guys talk. And so she had that great confidence and that great opportunity to really level that playing field in the office with this group of guys, which, a lot of women work in male-dominated industries, and it's this great way to level the playing field in the office. So our readers, they want the 3 times a week. They don't want ESPN. They don't need ESPN. They want the short, sweet, and to the point. And I think that's, in this world, we're so fast-paced. The last thing someone wants is to read a 10-page email. My whole goal is when that email comes out 3 times a week, it's about 3 minutes for you to read. That I always say you can read the time it takes to make a cup of coffee. And that's that quick, just breeze through what's happening in the world. And if you want more information, there's always a link for more if something's intriguing to you. But there's just enough in there. It's no more than 6 different things happening total. Usually 5 different things happening in the world. And they're quick, succinct. And my personal goal is to make it entertaining. I want to make you laugh because you know what? No one learns when they're bored. We've all sat through a class where we've been bored off of our faces. And for me, it's really important for people to be entertained. I want to find something that is interesting, that's quirky, that really catches someone's attention, and that they can remember that. And if someone is looking for ESPN, ESPN does a phenomenal job of covering the statistics and what happened in the game and really getting down to that nitty-gritty. And I don't want to be ESPN. I want to be our own little segment here that covers the sports, but in a really easy to understand, succinct, conversational way.
What a great idea.
And it's so easy. Go to lastnightsgame.com and sign up to get all the news.
Not that I need any help with awkward dates or stony silences.
Even a seasoned sports fan could enjoy a quick overview of the week's sporting news.
I'm as smooth as silk.
Yeah, I'm ignoring him. Hey, don't go far. We're taking a short break, and we'll return in a moment to wrap up this week's show.
Take charge of your health. We are what we put into our bodies.
We approach medicine from a unique standpoint. Rather than treating only the symptoms of an illness, we work to find the root cause and promote wellness of the entire body.
Our clinic offers complete assessment and treatment programs, including hormone replacement therapy, osteopathic manipulative therapy, and genetic DNA testing. It all starts with a medical evaluation.
Contact us today to begin your path to wellness.
Have you outgrown your home entertainment system? Then it's time to step up with Video Revolution and Sony for the ultimate 4K home theater experience. Size does matter when it comes to the quality and enjoyment that you get from a home entertainment system. Engineered by the experts at Video Revolution on the northwest corner of 71st and Lewis.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us each week as we look around Tulsa and meet the most interesting people.
Yes, thank you for being a part of what we do each week. We couldn't do this without our sponsors, so we take a moment to say thanks to Drs. Michelle and Mark Sherwood at Functional Medical Institute, home of whole body wellness.
And to Video Revolution, where you find all your home and business technology solutions. Thanks also to Dr. Zellner and Associates, Tulsa's best eye care value.
If you want to explore a little on your own, over 1,600 of our stories are on our YouTube channel, or go to exploretulsa.com. Enough to keep you entertained for a long while.
A quick shout out to this week's guests, Philip and ElephantRescue.net, Ashley and Ashley at Retro Den, WK for showing us the Vintage Sewing Machine Museum, and Amy at the Last Night's Game.
Get in touch with us with any comments, or if you know of someone who needs to be on here, we're always watching for interesting stories.
Thanks again, and we'll see you next time right here on Explore Tulsa.